Good afternoon, everybody. Cactus number 11. And we're going to do this one in a little cup. You may or may not have seen there's a lot of plants at the moment being planted into teacups. So today we're going to put our cacti into a little cup. So there we have the cup and there we have the handle. And then we're going to put another cacti just above using this shape. Now you can make up your own shape. They sort of have a main body and then they have projections coming out from each side. So put your main body in and then add some extra bits on. You can put them on the top, whatever you want to do. Okay. I'll just give you a little minute to catch up with the drawing. Sorry, just a slip of water. We're going to make the cup a brown colour and we're going to do the cacti in green, and then we're going to have some really long spiky projections coming off the cacti. Okay, so let's do shall we? I'll use a different green this time. And in here I've got a viridian green. I'm just going to put a bit of it over here. And you can see it's quite an inky green. It's a nice colour actually, but you need to use it for very specific things like painting Christmas trees, fir trees, spruce trees, those sort of things, because it's a bit strong for other foliage. So I've just put a blob on. I'm just going to spread it with a little bit of water so it thins it down a bit. Again, if you want to mix a different colour, go ahead. You can remember you can lighten watercolour by adding green to make the green lighter, rather than adding white, which will send it opaque, so it loses its transparency. Whereas if you lighten it using yellow, it will remain transparent. That's if you're using watercolour. You might not be using watercolour, you might be using pen, pencil, acrylic. With acrylic, you can add whites and blacks to your colours to make them light and dark. But with watercolour, you tend not to do that. To darken a green, you would add a blue to it, and to lighten the green, you would add a yellow to it. There are white watercolours, but like I said, they tend to be used for objects that are white, like sails and things like that. But you have to be very careful. Now you see I just added a little bit of extra colour on the left of these projections here, along this side, underneath there. That's just to create a little bit of extra shadow on your cacti. When you can see little sort of light areas over here, it's just where my paint is very wet. So as it dries off, you'll see that becomes less shiny. That's the way of telling if watercolour is dry or not, is by how shiny it is. So if it's still shiny, it's still wet. If it's not shiny anymore, that means it's dry. Okay, so leave that to dry. And while we're doing that, we can make our pot. Now I've chosen to use a brown for my pot, for my cup and saucer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a series of browns. I've got a sort of reddy brown here. And then I've got a burnt umber which is slightly darker. And then I've got a what's called a burnt sienna, which is a red brown. That's in there. Okay, so I'm going to start on the left with the brown, the burnt umber, the darker colour, and put it on the left of the cup like that. Now again, if you want to make your cup a different colour, then do that. Or you can even paint a flower onto it, or anything you want really. And I'm going to put the red brown, the burnt sienna or raw sienna you can use, which is slightly more yellow. And I'm going to put that on the right, and I'm going to push the two colours together like this. Just gently push them over so that they meet up in the middle. And then you'll get a feeling of 3D. So just move that over. You can see that's given it a bit of shape. And I'm going to take the excess paint that's still on my brush, and I'm going to paint the handle with that. So there's no need to wash it off. Just use whatever paint you've got left on your brush, paint that handle in. And you can take some of the darker brown and again, just put a little bit on the inside of that handle, and you'll get a feeling of three-dimensionality. Okay, so again, I'm going to let that dry. I'm just going to dry it off with a hairdryer. How are we doing for time? Yeah, we're all right. I gave that a really long dry because I want it to be dry, extra dry, because I'm going to put these projections on here now. It's still wet, just a bit here. It might be a bit shiny in your picture. And I'm going to use a black or a Payne's grey to paint my spikes onto this canvas. And these are going to be really long spikes, and they need to be really dark and black. So again, use a nice detail brush, something with a nice point on it, so that you don't get it too bulky at the end. And you're just going to paint some spikes like this. Really long spikes this time. And if you don't finish it, don't worry, just take your time with these. Think about where they go. You might have some poking out from behind. How are we doing? Yeah, we're all right. You might have some going across the front of the cacti, like this. Do them randomly. They always look better if they're random. Have some that look like they're projecting from behind, like that. Be careful with the direction. Have some thicker ones and some thinner ones and some shorter ones. Some might be a little curved. You can do this with a pen if your hand is not steady enough. Okay, hopefully you've got somewhere near that. How are we doing? 9 minutes. Wow. Okay, so to differentiate between the cup and the back of the cup, I'm going to use a slightly lighter brown, and I'm going to mix a little bit of yellow ochre into it, so it's a bit lighter, so that it represents the sort of soily bit of the cactus. I'm going to put that in there like that. Okay, and that's more or less it. If you want to add some more spikes, then go ahead. If you want to put a pattern on your cup, then go ahead. Thanks for joining. Please like and share and subscribe if you want more news about more free tutorials, and send some pictures in. We've had some so far. I put them on Facebook, so if you fancy looking at Facebook, then go ahead and have a look at my page on Facebook. Okay, cheerio for now. Have a good day. Bye.